Okay, awesome. All right, welcome everyone to the Healing Power of Plant Foods cooking class. So grateful to have those of you who are here tonight here physically, and also I want to welcome those who are at home watching. I'm excited to be here. It's been, gosh, too long since I've done a cooking class. I think it was February was my last ICL cooking class, and so I'm happy to be back. You know, with the way things are today, you know, my thoughts are, I talk about heart disease and diabetes and cancer and all those kind of things in my classes and how to prevent them and what are the most important things to do. And my mind's been on, you know, the virus as all of us, it has been for us as well. And, you know, one of the best things, the most important thing that you can do that nobody's talking about, I have never heard a word about diet in the media, but that is the number one most important thing that you can do to strengthen your immune system so that you can be protected from anything, you know, any virus, bacteria, you know, any kind of germs in your environment. We live in an imperfect world. We're exposed to things all the time. It doesn't matter how much we shield ourselves and stay inside. We are going to be exposed to things, and we need to build our bodies. That's where it begins, is inside our bodies. So that's what that's my message tonight. Build your immune system. And, you know, a lot of the people that have passed from this have comorbidities, which include heart disease and diabetes and all those. And those are all, you know, food-borne illnesses. A lot, you know, most of the time. Sometimes not so much, but even people that, you know, have a family history, there are things that you can do with your diet and lifestyle to protect yourself from getting those things. And of course, losing weight and just autoimmune. Plant foods are anti-inflammatory, great for inflammatory issues, which most diseases have an inflammatory component. So I'm just excited to share this message. And I've been teaching cooking classes since 2005. I've been preparing and eating a whole food plant-based diet for about 30 years now, and I love it. I've seen changes in so many people who have come to my classes, as well as myself. You know, when I grew up in a standard American family, eating the standard American diet, and I watched all of them get the standard American diseases, and I didn't want to go down that road. As I was growing up and watching this, I decided I want to do something that's going to protect me from that, because I knew there was something that I could do. I just wasn't sure what. And as I learned about, you know, exercise and diet and all those things, I gradually kind of switched over to more whole food plant-based. And I went from feeling lousy to feeling great within just a week or two. And the weight battle, I battled my weight for many years, and that ended, and I just have felt great. And I've met so many others that have had that same story. And so I'm excited to share that. So if you did not get handouts, there's some on the table over there. And there is a $5 class fee for those of you who are here. So if you haven't left that, you can do that before you leave. So we'll go ahead and get started. You know, here in southern Utah, we are still hot. We're like 100 degrees tomorrow, I think. So as I was thinking about the menu, I thought I want to do some salads. Haven't had a chance to teach any salads through the summer, so I wanted to do a couple salads. And these are pretty simple salads. I like to keep it simple and really delicious. So, and it's all 100% plant-based. You know, I don't really preach any specific, you know, vegan, vegetarian, raw food, anything like that. I just tell people eat more plants. This is about abundance. It's not about getting rid of, it's about abundance and eating lots and lots and lots. And we all love to eat. I know I do. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I am a firm believer in dessert. And I'm doing a cookie tonight. And because I want to get that in the oven and cooked and cooled before we have the food, I'm going to go ahead and do that first. So I believe that desserts can be a good part of the diet. We just got to make sure they're really healthy and made with whole natural foods. So the cookie I'm going to do tonight is an almond sugar cookie. And before I go on, I think I mentioned it earlier to some, but if any of you have questions, please feel free to just speak out or raise your hand or whatever you're most comfortable doing, because that will sometimes remind me that I wanted to talk about something. So, but I'm going to kind of keep talking as I go. So when you're making a cookie, we have three main components. We have a flour, we have a fat, and we have a sugar. And I'm going to use all three of those in whole food form. So I'm going to start out with rolled oats. These are gluten-free rolled oats in case anybody cares. Some people have sensitivities to those, or to gluten. And then I'm going to add my fats, and I'm using whole food fats. These are almonds, raw almonds, and just going to add those. And these are equal portions, a cup each. A cup of oats, cup of almonds, and then we're also going to add our sugar, and I'm using a whole food sugar. I'm using dates. Dates is my favorite type of whole food sweetener. You can use raisins, you could use dried cranberries, you can use any kind of dried fruit, and just make these cookies the way you want. This is kind of the foundation of all of my cookie recipes, and you can just switch it up, throw in some cocoa powder for a chocolate, add some chocolate chips for a chocolate chips, just kind of play with it and just make it the way you like it. Okay, so I'm going to add the cup of dates, and this is about 25 of the small pitted, they're called Deglet Nor pitted date. You can get these at Costco. You can get them pretty much anywhere. But it's a packed cup, so it's about 25. And if you want, if you don't like a lot of sweet, of course you can use less. And if you like more sweet, you can add more. So, all right, and we're just going to stop right there and go ahead and put on the lid of our food processor and go ahead and just process this for a minute until it grinds up to a powdery texture. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my baking soda. The reason I didn't add that before is with all that chunky stuff, a lot of times it splatters and gets all over the lid and you lose half of what you're using. So I'm just going to sprinkle that in there. And then I'm going to also add some almond extract, because these are kind of like a sugar cookie. They're going to have the flavor of a sugar cookie. And this is a half of a teaspoon. So we'll go 2 of those. And then we're going to go with a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. And the apple cider vinegar mixed with that baking soda is going to kind of help these puff up a little bit. Plus it's going to add a little bit of moisture. And we'll go ahead and process the rest of this. Super, super easy. That's all the ingredients we're putting in this. Now what I'm watching for is for this to begin to get sticky, and it's going to start kind of riding up on the sides of the food processor, and I can tell that it's going to start getting a little bit sticky. And if you need to add a little bit of water, you can do that. You got to be careful. You don't want to add too much water. Normally, if you've got a really good food processor, this is a KitchenAid, but like a Cuisinart and probably pretty much anything, if you process it long enough, it'll get sticky, but if you get tired of waiting, just put in a little bit of water. And a good way to test for that is just to take some of the crumble and squeeze it into a little ball, and that's what you want it to be able to hold together. It's not quite sticky enough, so I'm going to let that go a little bit longer. All right, that's looking like it's doing pretty good. I'll try that again. I think that's going to work. Okay, so this crumble right here is really great to sprinkle on over fruit. I do like a peach crumble and an apple crisp crumble kind of thing, and I'll do this same combination. A lot of times I'll do just the nuts and the dates, and often I'll use pecans or walnuts because they're more oily and they work just a little bit better. But you make kind of a sweet, buttery consistency with those nuts, and then you add the oats last, and you just process it just a little bit so the oats are still kind of, still chunky, crumbly or whatever, kind of like a crisp. And then you just sprinkle that over the top of your fruit, and you can just do it raw. You could bake it if you wanted, but that's super good. Another thing that I love to do at Christmas time is make raw like truffles. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with eating just this plain, but I'd leave out because I wouldn't cook it. I just do the raw candies. I would just do the oats or not the oats, but the dates and nuts. And sometimes you can do oats, but sometimes not, but just dates and nuts with some cocoa powder and make like some chocolate truffle kind of things. They're so good. Just roll them in a ball and then roll them in coconut or some more cocoa powder or something. Super, super yummy. These are the best treat. So, but we're going to make cookies out of these. So what we're going to do is just flatten those like a little disc there and just make cookies out of them. Now you want to be careful with, I encourage people to eat as much plant foods as they can. Green leafy vegetables are the healthiest foods on the planet. We need to get lots more than we already eat. And then, of course, beans, super healthy. We want to get more of those in. Whole, intact grains are the best. What I mean by intact is that's not processed like these oats are. But this is dessert, so you got to give a little on dessert. But, and then nuts and seeds. And nuts and seeds are kind of an optional thing. They're really good for you, good, healthy fats. But you got to be careful with them if weight loss is a goal for you. You don't want to be eating too much nuts and seeds. You might think, oh, they're so healthy, I can just eat a lot. But you got to be careful. Fat is fat, and it'll get stored pretty easily. Especially when you grind things up like this, makes them a little bit even more, your body absorbs the fats even a little bit better. So it also absorbs the nutrients better when you grind up like a smoothie, like a green smoothie. People love their green smoothies. And when you grind those greens up, you're increasing the absorption of those nutrients, but when you're grinding up fats, you're increasing the absorption of those fats as well. So you've got to be careful with those. But again, I think good, healthy, plant-based desserts are good for you, as long as you don't eat too many. And my rule of thumb for desserts is only make them when you have lots of friends to share them with. Because if you're like me and they're in the house, they call me. And I have a tendency to eat too many of them. So I don't ever make them. My poor husband, he's deprived because I don't make them very often, only when I've got kids coming over or company coming, then I will. Yes?
Can you freeze those after you bake them?
Yes, you can. They asked if you could freeze them, for those that can't hear that. I don't know if people can hear the questions here that are at home, but they wanted to know if you could freeze the cookies, and you can. So, in fact, you could even freeze, you probably couldn't freeze the dough and then bake it, but you could freeze, keep them raw. Again, just keep them raw. Take out the apple cider vinegar and the baking soda. You can make little cookies like this, put them in the freezer, and they would be really good just eating them right out of the freezer like that. I've done that before too. Now these aren't going to spread at all, so I'm not having to spread, keep them too far apart from each other. They will puff up just a little bit because of that baking soda effect, but they will not spread. And again, you could do like a sugar or a chocolate chip cookie with this. I've been wanting to try a snickerdoodle, with some cinnamon and the snickerdoodle flavors. That would work really well with this cookie. Studies show that people who eat nuts and seeds on a regular basis burn more fat at rest than people who don't. But again, you got to be careful with the quantity. I know one of my favorite nutrition experts, Dr. Joel Furman, he recommends a serving, depending on where you're at. Like if you need to lose weight, he still recommends, I think, 3 times a week, like a quarter of a cup. But if you're more active and you don't need to lose weight, you can have more than that, kind of depending on your activity level. But they show that it helps dieters feel more satisfied after a meal when there's some good healthy whole food fats. They eat less. And when you're adding nuts and seeds and fats, whole food fats, I want to emphasize that, to a meal, you're increasing the absorption of the nutrients in those other foods. Like if we were to have, we're going to have some fats in with our kale salad. With those fats, you're increasing the absorption, you're increasing the absorption of the nutrients from those vegetables, 10 times more. So like with the kale and the olives that we're going to be putting in there. Okay, we are just about there. The nuts and seeds are a great source of minerals. If you're lacking in minerals, that's a really great source. Calcium, almonds are a good source of calcium. Sesame seeds are the richest source of calcium actually on the planet, of all plant foods, sesame seeds. I used to make a sesame seed milk that I would use. I had some teeth issues, and that actually helped my sensitivity that I had in my teeth. So, okay, so we've got our cookies here. And when you're cooking with whole foods, things look a little bit off. They're not pretty white, they're a little bit off color, like these are a little bit brown looking, but that's because you're using whole foods. You're not using any white bleached flour or white sugar or anything like that. So, but you get used to that after a while. So we're going to go ahead and put these in the oven, 350 degrees for 10 minutes. Let's see. Set timer. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay. I'm not sure how to set this timer. There's 6 minutes right there. I'll have to go 4 more. Okay, so there we've got our cookies. We'll move over to, let's move over to our kale salad. And let's see, we're going to take our kale. You guys familiar with kale? Anybody? Hopefully you're using kale on a regular basis. It's one of the healthiest leafy green vegetables. But any leafy green vegetables feed your immune system. If you're not getting leafy greens into your vegetables, your immune system is lacking. This is your immune system's fuel right here. Not just kale, but all green leafy vegetables. And what we're going to do, this is a curly leaf kale. You can use the lacinato or the dinosaur kale if you prefer. For this particular salad, I do like this better. And I'm not going to use the stalk. When I cook kale, I use the stalk. And because I believe that there's good nutrients in the stalk. I mean, I feel like this is like the bloodline to the plant. So there's going to be good nutrients in there. And I always find out down the road, like with an apple, the healthiest part of an apple is the skin, right? And so it's usually the part that we throw away is usually the healthiest part. So I like to use it all. But for this salad, I'm not going to use the stem. And so you can, just a good way to, well, that didn't work very good that time. Good way to strip that kale off is just grabbing the end and pulling it. But it doesn't always work. And I will use some of the stalk, some of the smaller stalk that's up closer to the top. Kale is a cruciferous vegetable, and studies show that cruciferous vegetables have double the cancer-fighting effect than non-cruciferous vegetables like spinach, or let's see, spinach and chard, beet greens. All leafy greens are super high in calcium. What does the cow eat to get her high amounts of calcium in her milk? She eats a lot of greens, hopefully a lot of hay. And that's where we should get our calcium. It's from green leafy vegetables. They're also loaded with thousands of micronutrients that are critical for our health. So in one part of the plant of all cruciferous vegetables, and cruciferous vegetables include kale, collards, bok choy, arugula, watercress, Brussels sprouts, cabbage. Let's see, I know there's more. Watercress is one, turnip greens are one. Anyway, again, they're powerful against cancer. And in leafy greens, one part of the cell has got a phytochemical called myrosinase, and in the other part of the cell is glucosinolates. And there's lots and lots of other compounds as well. But when you chop your leafy greens, like I'm doing right here, you're breaking open the cell wall of the plant, and you're bringing those two compounds together, and they're creating more compounds. They're creating one that's called isothiocyanates, and those are your anti-cancer compounds. And if you're a really health nut, if you're a true blue health nut, and just go over the top about everything and want everything perfect, what you would do is after you chop this, you let this rest before, if you're going to cook it. We're not going to cook it tonight, but if you were going to cook it, you'd let it sit for about a half an hour to 40 minutes. And those compounds are activated, and they keep getting more and more and more. So if you want to maximize those anti-cancer benefits, if you've got cancer or know somebody with cancer, you might want to take that into consideration. But that just increases those compounds exponentially. So, all right, we're going to chop that really good. And then we're going to just put that in the bowl. And this is about 4 ounces, 4 or 5 ounces. I usually don't measure. I just get a bunch, a good sized bunch. And okay. And then, now, a lot of times when you see recipes of people massaging kale, you will see them using olive oil. I don't use any olive oil ever. I use olives. It's the whole food. When you're using olives, you're not only getting the oil and the fats, well, oil and fats are both in and of the same. You're also getting thousands of micronutrients that are in the whole food. This is the way we need to get our fats, is in whole food form. Oils actually damage your endothelial lining of your blood vessels. They slow blood flow. Studies show 40% within 4 hours after consumption. And then the blood flow starts to come up, after you've digested it. And then we go eat another meal that's high in oil, and it slows that blood flow again. It's hard to prevent heart disease when we're constantly slowing our blood flow and injuring our endothelial cells. And the endothelial cells are the cells that line the blood vessels in your arteries, and they produce a gas called nitric oxide. That nitric oxide keeps your blood vessels flexible, like Teflon. Flexible and really slippery, slidey, like your blood goes through there very easily. By the way, I'm using the Vidalia Chop Wizard, the small blade, to chop these olives. It's a great way to chop olives. The Vidalia Chop Wizard, see it on the camera. I love these tools. So many people that come to my classes say, I went and got a chopper and I love it. It's my favorite kitchen tool. Favorite kitchen tool next to the Vitamix. All right. So when we put olive oil on our food, any kind of oil, olive oil, coconut oil is the rage. It's not as good as what you think. It's all oil. All oil damages the endothelial lining, and that nitric oxide keeps your blood vessels working well, keeps the plaque from building up on your arteries. Makes your arteries so they expand, like when you go up a flight of stairs or you go out for your run, your blood vessels need to expand to allow for more blood flow. They have a harder time doing that if we're slowing blood flow and damaging those endothelial cells with oil, because the oil coats the inner lining of your arteries and just impedes that that nitric oxide process. And this works just as good. This works just as good as the olive oil, better. Another thing about oils and whole foods is when you're using a whole food fat that's got all the fiber intact, those fats are bound to those fibers in that whole food, and so you're not absorbing all the fats from the food. You know, if you're taking olive oil, there's no fiber there, and it knows right where to go. It goes to my belly. Some people it goes to their hips and thighs. So, and of course, if you don't have a problem with that, if your cholesterol levels are good, your blood pressure's good, you can probably get away with having a little bit of oils. But if you've done everything, I hear this, I've done everything I can and I just can't get my cholesterol down, you might want to try getting rid of the oil, getting rid of the olive oil that's supposed to be heart healthy, and just see what happens. Okay, we're going to add some lemon juice, and now my hands are greasy. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. So we're going to add 1/3 cup of lemon juice to that, and that's going to help kind of break down the fibers of the kale as well. I don't normally like raw kale. I'll throw it in a smoothie, and that takes the flavor away. But the only way I like it raw is like this. And I like to put, you know, other stuff with it, which we are going to do. Although, one time I was on vacation, and my cooler that I take with me on vacation is bigger than my luggage. I'm always packing my own food. But this is a great salad to take, this kale, because it keeps really well. And you can add it to other things. Like I had a baggie full of that on one trip, and I found a restaurant that had a millet salad, like a tabbouleh, and I bought that, and I mixed in a bunch of this kale, and it was so good. There's just a lot of things you can do with it. You can throw it in a wrap, you know, with tomato and hummus, and it's really good that way. So lots of things you can do with it. Okay, and you want to just massage this until it gets nice and tender and bright green.
Where did you get those gloves?
I ordered them online. And I ordered a case, and it was quite a while ago, so I can't really remember where. But you can, I mean, they're easy. Amazon probably is where I got them, come to think of it. Good way to lower your blood pressure is leafy green vegetables, too. More leafy green vegetables. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, he is the director of preventive cardiology at the Cleveland Clinic. He has 98% success rate with his patients. He puts them on a whole food, plant-based, vegan diet, no oil, and that is like his biggest thing is absolutely no oil because it damages your endothelial cells. And like I said, he has a 98% success rate. In fact, if you go to YouTube, you can hear Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn talk about that. So if you're kind of looking at me going, you're crazy, oil, bad? No way. Go listen to his, in fact, on my website, and my website is on your handout, on your recipe sheet. In fact, I think he's one of your homework assignments that I put on there, Esselstyn, yes.
Is it almost 10 minutes for your?
Oh, I had it for 6, I thought. I think it'll, huh? Okay, thank you. Okay. Oh, Caldwell Esselstyn, yes. There's a lot of videos that I've posted on the links on my website, but you can go to YouTube and just Google him, and you'll get probably 100 of them. Interviews, lectures that he's done. He's pretty amazing. Okay, so from here we've got our kale. We're going to go to, let's see, we'll go to our veggies first. And I'm going to add a red bell pepper. This is the season for peppers. They come on later in the summer because they take so long to ripen. Did you know green bell peppers are actually red, yellow, orange bell peppers that just aren't ripe? So I try to go with the colorful bell peppers because they are what's ripe. And they're super high in vitamin C. Talk about protecting yourself from colds and flus. Right here, this is it, whole food. Not only does this have vitamin C in it, but it also has thousands of other micronutrients that work synergistically with that vitamin C to make it work properly. This is much better than the vitamin C tablet. And most of that, the best part of the vitamin C is the part that we throw away. I know somebody that blends this up in their smoothie to get that. They don't want to waste that. It's a little bit bitter though. All right, we're just going to add that. And then we're going to do some red onion. Red onion also has some powerful anti-cancer properties. Large European study involving 10 countries. Those who ate the most onion had the least cancers of all types. All types of cancers were improved with the onion. And raw is best. What I like to do, I like having green onions on hand. And when I am making like something cooked, a soup or whatever, I like to add raw food to whatever meal I'm having anyway, but I'll also chop up a little onion and just add some raw onion to it as well. And one thing about this chopper, no more tears. Chops it super quick. All right, and then we're going to add some corn. This is fresh corn, about 2 cups worth of fresh corn. And I do use organic, non-GMO is what I look for. GMO means genetically modified. We don't want to eat things that are genetically modified. We just don't know the effect that it has on our body. So it's best to go with organic corn if you can. This is some local that I got at the farmer's market, which is always fun. And then we're going to go with some tomatoes. I think I've got on your recipe like 3 medium tomatoes. These are Romas, and I just kind of guessed on the amount. So that's probably about 2 cups. And again, you know, the in-season, vine-ripened is the best for that. And we're going to go with, I'm doing 2 cans, a little bit more than what the recipe says, I think 2 cups of cooked beans, but I'm just going to go with 2 cans. I needed to open both cans anyway to get 2 cups, so I'm just going to add the whole thing. And we'll just give that a stir. This salad is so beautiful. I just love the salad, the way it looks, the way it tastes. And if you can make things look good, that's the first step when you're feeding picky eaters. Okay, we're also going to add some millet. Millet's probably a little bit different grain. Does anybody use millet? Yeah? I love a combination of, it's good, you know, whole grains. I've gained a new appreciation for whole grains recently. And so I try to get a little bit of more variety rather than just quinoa and rice. It's easy to get kind of stuck in a rut. So what I like to do, I love to make millet and quinoa together and just adding that difference. In fact, I've learned a lot about gut health in the last few years. And the more plant foods, different types of plant foods you can get, the better your microbiome. Every type of plant has a different microbiome. Just like I have a different microbiome than Terry has a different microbiome than all of you. We all have our own unique, kind of like our thumbprint. That's how I heard it described. Our microbiome, our gut flora, is different than anybody else's, just like our thumbprint. And the more plant foods that we feed it, the healthier we are, and the more variety of those microbes we get in. Every plant has a different microbiome. So the more plants you can get in, and gastroenterologists, people who specialize in gut health, tell you to get at least 30 different types of plants in a week for you know, to get a good variety. And however many more you can get, the better. So shoot for 30, and if you can get more, that's even better. And this is 3/4 cup of raw millet cooked. So you're getting about 1.5 cups. And you can use quinoa if you'd like. I prefer the millet in this salad. One thing about millet, though, is when you put it in the refrigerator, kind of like rice, it gets a little bit chewy. But that's actually good for your gut when it's a little bit chewy like that. But I like how the millet, the hardiness of the millet, kind of combines nicely with the hardiness of the kale. Because kale is a little bit, you know, it's hardy. It's a hardy green.
Did you say the millet is cooked or uncooked?
It's cooked, yes.
But here it says uncooked in your recipe.
Well, and I think it says to cook it though. Boil 1.5 cups of water in soft pan and add the grain, reduce heat. Yeah. Sorry, and so that's how I cook the millet. You boil double the water, add the millet just like rice, and then cook it for, it cooks a little quicker than rice. It cooks about 15 minutes. So, and you could use rice in this. I mean, you could use any grain you want. A new grain that I've tried is sorghum. That's a really great grain for the gut. So, the more whole grain variety we can get, the better. The more food variety we can get, the better. Okay, now we want some basil. And I was going to have this all cut up and ready to go, but we'll just do that real quick. And I just pinch off the leaves of the plant. And you want fresh basil for this salad. I have used dry and have just cooked it, like when I'm cooking the millet, I'll throw in the dry basil, but it's just not the same. You just don't get that same effect or same flavor. Basil and dill are one of the two, I don't know, I like to use fresh in those foods. Or when I'm using those kind of grains. And here we've got another leafy green. I don't know what the nutritional composition of basil is, but I'm sure it's really great. No, I haven't. Is it time? Oh, yeah, past time? Let's see. I'm just going to use this towel because I can. Oh, there's a. Yeah, it's only been like half an hour, right? Oh, they look good, actually. I think I can probably set those on there. It's just wood. They might be just a little bit brown, but they'll be good. Thank you for reminding me. I get too many things going. Okay, so we want about a loose cup, and I usually just kind of do the whole plant, but we don't want an overpowering of basil. And I rinsed this off at home and kind of shook it dry, so it's been washed. And I just, this basil's a little bit hard to cut up, but I just kind of put it in a ball and do that. It's not a pretty cut, but it works. So vitamin C is an antioxidant, and antioxidants, of course, are in all plant foods. And there was something I was going to say about vitamin C, but now I can't remember what it was. But anyway, plant foods have about 64 times more antioxidants than animal foods. And antioxidants keep your cells from aging. So if we were to have make something with apple, we wanted to keep it from turning brown, we would throw on some lemon juice, right? That apple turning brown is oxidation, and when we put that lemon juice on it, it's an antioxidant, so it protects the apple from aging. That's what plant foods do to our cells in our body. And the deeper the color of the food, the more antioxidants there are. So these reds and greens, super high in antioxidants. They're protecting your cells and keeping you from aging. And that's what we all want, right? I mean, the fountain of youth is right here. We don't have to go to another country and, buy these exotic juices or pills or supplements. We've got it right here in the produce section of our grocery store. All right, then we're going to take some balsamic vinegar. This is 3 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. I'm just going to pour that over. And you can use any kind of balsamic vinegar. I find the Kirkland at Costco really good. I like it. Just stir that in. Now between the olives, the balsamic vinegar, the lemon juice, you really don't need, I don't find I need any salt added to this. So you may want to add some, but we're gonna leave it off. You can see how you like it without, and then if you like salt, you can add salt. And I do have salt up here if you decided you wanted to add it. It's good to get the salt down, lowered in your diet if you can. It does raise blood pressure, and I know Dr. Furman just encourages people to get it out, but that's something I haven't done, although I'm kind of working more towards that way. I like vinegar, and so I use vinegar quite a bit, but I still use a little bit of salt. And salt's good. I think, we live in a hot climate. I think it's, we can get away with a good amount of salt. Yes?
I want to take salt. Everyone's getting sea salt and pink salt, but what about iodized salt that we're avoiding with?
From what I understand, and this is coming from Dr. Joel Furman again, I follow him fairly closely. He says salt is salt. It's all sodium chloride. It's all increases risk of osteoporosis. It raises your blood pressure. It's all not really a great thing. And the mineral content of sea salt and all these other salts is not that significant to make that much difference. Now the whole iodine thing, I know when you are, I know you can be low in iodine. That can be a problem. And if you are, I think, it seems like he recommends supplementing iodine. I'm not real big on supplements, so although iodized salt is supplemented salt, I would think. So to answer your question, I'm not really sure. So just have your iodine levels checked, and if you're low, maybe you want to add a little iodized salt. It would probably be okay, just as long as you're not getting too much salt. So, okay, and I think that's it for this salad. Isn't it beautiful? Can you guys see that in the camera? I don't know if you got do you have a camera view of it? Oh yeah, you do. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, I'm just going to put that right there, and then we will go on to our mock tuna salad.
Was that one can of beans that you added in?
I added two cans of kidney beans. And speaking of beans, beans, the magical fruit, the more you eat, the healthier you are. And the slimmer your waist. People that eat beans on a regular basis have a slimmer waistline than people who don't. People who eat beans, a cup of beans twice a week, have been shown to have half the risk of colon cancer. And colon cancer is our #1 cancer killer in our country. I've known a few people that have had colon cancer and have died, actually. Beans, just a few things about beans. Beans are high in folate, phytates, and fiber. We hear about phytates from, I think, keto and paleo people. Phytates are anti-cancer compounds. Phytates are okay. They're good. We want to eat phytates. Lower blood pressure, regulate blood sugar. Quarter cup of beans cut risk of precancerous colon polyps by 65%. Increases fat burning and decreases fat storage after a meal. Helps you to feel more satisfied. I've got my pastry cutter here, and I am just kind of briefly, carefully chopping these garbanzo beans a little bit. I don't want hummus. I want to keep them somewhat. And these beans I've cooked from scratch. So I've taken the whole bean, the whole dry bean, and I put them in a bowl, cover them with water a couple inches above the beans, because these beans will soak up about 4 or 5 times more than what they are dry. And then I let them set for up to 24 hours. And the longer you set, you want to let them set overnight, at least for 8 hours. And then I let them go a full 24, and they get more bubbly, and then you dump out that water, and you're dumping a lot of that gassy problem down the drain. Okay, but that gassy problem is actually a good thing because it's good for your gut. Back to gut health. Beans contain resistant starch, and that starch resists digestion, normal digestion, and goes down into the large intestine, ferments, and that's kind of the gassy effect, and it feeds your gut bugs, feeds your microbiome. So you want that. Now, if you start working out at the gym and you start going full bore, you're going to be really sore and uncomfortable the next day. Same with this. If you don't eat beans on a regular basis, start out with like a quarter of a cup a day maybe. because it's going to affect your gut. You're going to have a problem. You're going to say, I don't like beans. I can't eat beans. They make me gas, and I can't stand the bloating, and blah, blah, blah. What you got to do is start very, very slow, okay? Just a little bit here, a little bit on your salad, a little bit in your soup, and start slow. Okay, so from here, we're going to chop some celery. And I want about 2 cups. The great thing about this chopper as well is there's a little measuring thing up here on the side. Beans help to move cholesterol and other fats out of the body. And that's the fiber part of the, they're rich in fiber. We need to eat more fiber. Americans in general don't get nearly the fiber that they need. Let's see where we're at there. In fact, talking about Paleolithic people, they ate over 100 grams of fiber a day, research has shown. And people eating the paleo diet today are not getting even close to that. Okay, and that's about 2 cups. And then we're going to do some carrots. And what I do with these carrots is I cut just a little sliver off the end, and then I turn it, because I'm going to use this small blade. And you can grate these carrots as well, but I didn't want to bring my grater and my chopper, so I'm just going to use the chopper. But you got to cut these on with this chopper, this tiny screen on the chopper. You got to cut them quite thin. And I'm just using 1 medium carrot. By the way, you can get these choppers at Bed Bath & Beyond for about 20 bucks. If you have a coupon, it's 15. All right, and we're just going to add that. Not too much carrot, just a little nice extra crunch in there. And then we're going to take 4 scallions, another way to get raw onions in your diet. And I like to use some of that green part. Chop it a little bit more. Get a little bit of red onion in there.
How do you feel about tuna? Tuna's not that good for you?
Seafood is really high in pollution. The ocean waters are very polluted, PCBs, dioxins. I don't know what exactly what all that is, but yeah, really polluted. Tuna is one of the most polluted because it's a large fish, and it's like sardine. If you're going to eat fish, it's better to eat like little fish that haven't been swimming around in the ocean for years and years and years, absorbing all the toxins from the ocean. Our oceans are filthy. So. I don't know. Haven't heard of, yeah. I wouldn't, there's a warning for pregnant women. If there's a warning for anybody, I would stay away from it. Okay, and then this is pickles, dill pickles. On your recipe it says 2 spears. My husband really likes pickles, so I usually just put 2 pickles in. And so yeah, you can put as much pickles as you want, I guess. Okay, let's see. Let me make sure I've got everything in there except for the spread. We've got all of our veggies, and then I'm going to go ahead with the mustard. I've got 2 tablespoons of mustard. I guess I will measure that. And then we're going to do a sunseed spread. This is a plant-based, really healthy, whole food mayonnaise type spread dressing. And we're just going to go over to the Vitamix to do that. Get rid of my food processor here. One kitchen gadget that I really highly recommend for people that are moving more to a whole food diet is a good blender. This thing, I've had this part of my blender for, I think I'm going on about 17 years, 18 years. Still running strong. I do have to replace this occasionally because I use it a ton. And it starts to leak and it gets really ugly looking. But highly recommend this. It's an expensive appliance, but I use this appliance more than any other appliance in my house. I use it more than my washer and dryer, my dishwasher, even really my stove. Sometimes in the summer I'm blending a lot of dressings and things like that. It's just a great, great tool to have, and they last forever, which is not something you can say about most appliances. Okay, so we're going to use a cup of raw sunflower seeds. Now I have cut this with a 1/4 cup of beans. In just trying to cut back on fats, that's just something that you could do. And even I'd like to try to cut it back even more to maybe like half. Do half white bean or garbanzo bean and half sunflower seeds. And you could also use tofu as well. Soy is not a bad food. You can use soy in small amounts. But I'm going to use my original recipe, which is sunflower seeds. So I've got 1 cup of whole, raw, unsalted sunflower seeds. And then we're going to go with, let's see, where is, lemon. Lemon juice. We're going to go with the juice of 1 lemon, which is about 3 tablespoons. And then we're going to go with 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. I got to wash this spoon real quick. Three tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And then we're going to go with some seasonings. We got a teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of mustard powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Just put that in there. And we need some water. I just realized. And we want about 1 cup of water. And I like to start small and then just add. It just blends a little bit better when you start with less water.
Put in the mustard powder.
I did. It was a combination in all together. Seeds are also a really great source of minerals and micronutrients. Seeds are higher in protein than nuts. They're higher in everything than nuts, higher in minerals. So if you can get more seeds than nuts, that's, we have a tendency to eat nuts, snack on nuts. Oh, that's one thing I was going to say about nuts. It's best to not snack on nuts. How easy is it to sit down in front of the TV with a bowl of nuts and eat, a cup or 2 or 3? It's better to have them with a meal. So you're, making a salad dressing with some nuts or seeds in it, adding it to your salad. So you're just getting a small amount. And it's hard to overeat when you're doing it like that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add the rest of that water, or some more water. And I like to kind of rinse down the side of my blender when I'm adding that. I love how, I mean, that just makes such a great mayonnaise type dressing. And I do a dilly ranch dressing, like a salad dressing, and I add more water and just some dill, and it makes a really great creamy ranch type salad dressing. So we'll go ahead and just add whatever, and this will thicken up. You know, the fibers of the sunflower seeds will swell as it sits, and you'll have a spreadable mayonnaise. I mean, this is already thick right here, but it'll even be more thick the next day after you put it in the refrigerator. You'll be able to spread it on your sandwich or whatever you're wanting to spread it on, or use it as a dip with some celery, carrots, or whatever veggies. That would be so good. But it's another thing that you could easily eat a lot of too. I love to dip broccoli in like a ranch type dressing, and you could easily eat a half a cup of those sunflower seeds, which wouldn't be horrible, but.
How long does that last in the refrigerator?
You know, with the dressing and the raw vegetables, it ought to be eaten within 2 or 3 days. Hopefully it's good enough to where you could eat it within 2 or 3 days. And if you can't, just half the recipe. You know, this makes a good amount. And you can just put in the amount that you need. I usually don't use the whole thing. I usually use about a half of that recipe. I might actually add a little bit more. Let's see, let me make sure I got everything in here. Yep. And this is great on a sandwich, or you can put it in a lettuce leaf. And my husband loves bread, but he really likes them in lettuce leaves. It just really, you know what, the bread kind of hides the salad. It kind of, I don't know. You can just taste the salad a lot better with just the lettuce leaf. It's just a nice, refreshing, good summery kind of a meal. And then we will go with, I'm going to do some lettuce. Whoops. Going to go with some lettuce leaves. And we do have, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. We have 8 tonight. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and just fill your lettuce leaf up, kind of do it like a little wrap. I'm using the green, let's see, what's it called? The lettuce, just a green leaf lettuce. Romaine is actually one of your best nutrition-wise, like highest in antioxidants. Romaine is your best. Well, actually, spinach is your best, and then romaine. Speaking of best, Dr. Michael Greger is a medical doctor researcher that I follow. I usually mention him, and I haven't yet tonight, but he has a lot of videos about what's the best apple, what's the best lettuce, what's the best nut, what's the best bean. And then he also has a lot of research on just any disease you want to know about. You could probably find, 50 to 100 videos about that specific topic. So that's nutritionfacts.org is his website, and he's on YouTube. Lots and lots of information from him. 2, 4, 6, 8. I think that's all we need there. Okay. And you can put some tomato on this if you want. Let's see, we'll go a little bit more with these. You guys are, it's one thing about having a small group is we get to really feed you. Okay. All right, and they're just beautiful with the lettuce leaves, aren't they? They look so pretty. All right, let's see. I guess we can have you guys come up as long as you stay 6 feet apart. So I'll do that. I'll put these up front here, and we've got some plates and a fork and a cookie. All right, you guys can come up and just help yourself. And for those of you that are at home, come join us next time, and then you can taste the food. And by the way, for those that aren't here tonight that are at home, if you want to email me at health4lifecooking@gmail.com. That's health, the number 4, life, cooking@gmail.com, and just say, hey, I saw your class the other night for ICL, would love to get the recipes, and I would love to send them to you. So please do that. All right, come on up.